All right, let's dive into the world of sleep scoring. We're going to take the super technical AASM manual and break it down step by step. Think of this as a condensed training session designed to take you on a journey from knowing basically nothing to feeling really proficient. Let's get started. You ever see those images from a sleep lab? It's just a bunch of chaotic, squiggly lines scrolling across the screen all night long. So, how on earth does a sleep tech look at that and turn it into a clean, structured report that actually tells the story of how someone slept? Well, that is the puzzle we are going to solve together today. So, here's our game plan. First, we'll cover our canvas and compass, basically the tools and setup you need to have right. Then, we'll learn the alphabet of sleep, the actual brain waves. After that, we'll get into the rules of the stages to see how those letters form words. And finally, we'll talk about the art of the score, which is where it all really comes together. Okay, section 1, the canvas and compass. Look, before an artist can paint a masterpiece, they have to prep their canvas and know their tools, right? Same thing here. This part is all about getting the foundation right, because everything else we do builds on this. It all starts with something called the International 10-20 system. You use these specific landmarks on the head, like the nason at the bridge of the nose, and then inion at the back. Why? So a lab in New York and a lab in Tokyo are looking at the exact same spot on the brain. It's all about consistency. You can see we put certain electrodes in key spots. Occipital for wakefulness signals, central for sleep spindles, and frontal for those really deep sleep waves. Now, before the study even kicks off, we run through what's called a biocalibration. This is just a check to make sure all our signals are clean. We have the patient open and close their eyes. We should see the alpha rhythm pop up and then vanish. Then we have them look around to make sure the eye channels are working. And finally, a quick clench of the jaw confirms the muscle sensor is good to go. Because if you start with dirty signals, you're going to end up with a wrong report. Simple as that. Okay, moving on to section 2, the alphabet of sleep. This is fun. You can't read a story if you don't know the letters, right? In sleep scoring, the different brainwaves are our letters, so let's get to know them. First up, we've got delta waves. Just imagine big, slow, rolling hills on the screen. These are the heavy hitters, the signature of our deepest, most restorative sleep. But here's the really important part, the detail that matters. For a wave to officially count as delta for deep sleep, it not only has to be slow, it has to be big, over 75 microvolts in amplitude. It's got to have both. Next, there's theta. You can think of this as the workhorse of light sleep. It's got a lower voltage, it looks a little busier than those big delta waves, and it pretty much forms the background rhythm when someone is just starting to drift off into those early stages. And here we have alpha. When you see this rhythm, it's super regular, kind of looks like a picket fence. That is the classic signal of someone who is awake but relaxed with their eyes closed. And what's really key here is that the exact moment this rhythm disappears, well, that's one of the very first signs that sleep is on its way. And last but not least, the sleep spindle. It kind of looks like how it sounds, like a quick zing or a little burp of high-frequency brain activity. Now, for it to be a real spindle, it has to last for at least half a second. Spotting one of these is everything because it's the absolute definitive hallmark of stage N2 sleep. It's the key that unlocks the door to that stage. So let's just do a quick recap of our alphabet. This table really lays it all out side by side. You've got the slow, rolling delta for deep sleep, the low and busy theta for light sleep, that picket fence alpha for wakefulness, and that quick zing of a spindle that tells you, hey, we're in stage N2. Each one has a totally distinct look and a critical job to do. All right, let's get into section 3. Now that we know our letters, the brain waves, it's time to learn the rules for putting them together to form words. And in our world, the words are the different sleep stages. We do this in 30-second chunks of time, which are called epochs. Scoring wakefulness, or stage W, is usually pretty straightforward. The main rule couldn't be simpler. If more than half of that 30-second epoch is filled with that alpha rhythm we just talked about, you call it wake. You'll also see other clues, of course, like rapid eye blinks or high muscle tone. Now, this is a really key point, especially for anyone starting out. Both the lightest sleep stage N1 and REM sleep stage R have eye movements, but they're complete opposites. In N1, you get these slow, rolling, gentle waves, but in stage R, they're rapid, jerky, all over the place. Telling these two apart is absolutely critical. Okay, listen up, because this rule is a big one. The moment you spot a single sleep spindle or its bigger cousin, the K complex, that's it. The epoch instantly becomes stage N2. It's not a suggestion, it's a hard and fast rule that marks our entry into the most common stage of sleep. So what about that deep restorative sleep? How do we score stage N3? Well, it all comes down to a magic number, 6 seconds. If you have a 30-second epoch, and at least 6 seconds of it is filled with those big, high-amplitude delta waves, boom, you score at N3. It's that 20% rule. To score REM sleep, or stage R, you can't just have one piece of evidence. You need what we call the REM triad. It's a package deal. First, the chin muscle tone totally flattens out. That's the body's paralysis kicking in. Second, you see those rapid, jerky eye movements we talked about. And third, you'll often spot these unique sawtooth waves. You gotta have these key ingredients to make the call. And that brings us to our final section, the art of the score. See, knowing the rules for each stage in isolation is one thing, but sleep isn't static. People shift, transition, wake up briefly. It's a fluid process. Understanding that flow is where scoring goes from being just a science to a bit of an art form. This is where a scorer's judgment really has to kick in. This right here is a perfect example of that art. It's called the arousal rule. Let's say someone's in N2 sleep, and they have a brief little arousal, a burst of brain activity. Even if the rest of the epoch looks like N2, you have to score that epoch as N1. They essentially get kicked out of N2, and they can't get back to N until you see a brand new spindle or K complex. It's like the arousal hits a reset button on the sleep stage. Of course, to apply all these rules correctly, you have to be able to measure things accurately, and for that, we use what are basically digital rulers right in the software. Amplitude is just the height of the wave, from its lowest point to its highest. And frequency is just how fast it is. You literally just count how many waves happen in 1 second. It's that simple. So there you have it. We've gone all the way from the basic setup to learning the alphabet of brainwaves to understanding the rules for each stage, and even some of the more nuanced logic behind it all. We've built the entire foundation. So the only real question left is, are you ready to start scoring? Because now you've got the tools to begin.